Hi, and welcome today to Lesson 7. This is Master of Manifestation, Lesson 2. Today's lesson, if you listen to the introduction, which is the first recording of this series, at the very end of the lesson, I asked you to write down what it is that you want, why you want it, why you want that thing or that lifestyle or situation. And then I asked you to write down what it is that you believe stands in your way. So if you've not done that, please pause, put this on pause, and however you're listening to it, and spend some time thinking about what it is that you think you truly want and then why you want it. And for those of you who did write down what it is that you want and why you want it and what you believe stands in your way, this part of the lesson is going to be understanding and then how to get to work. So, what does it mean to understand? And then, what does it mean to actually do the work? Because you can have all the understanding in the world, but if you don't do anything with it, then it doesn't usually work. So, to understand means to learn, but it means to think about the foundation of what you are standing upon, what is underneath your foundation. So think about the word understanding. Understanding is the foundation of how energy works to create, and also what the world and you are, and also that you are the creator of that world. So the first step is to learn to truly understand what it is that this manifestation, law of attraction, laws of the universe, the nature of things, what is it? And and then what is the first thing you yourself, what are you supposed to do? And the very first thing that we talk about is gratitude, generosity of spirit. Because when you're kind and you're gracious, and when you are grateful for everything that you have, that opens up your spirit to being a spirit that feels very generous. And when you are grateful and you are innately kind within yourself, generosity springs from that, but so does an abundant life. So it's like begetting like. And this your cup runs over and you receive more. But this is a real kindness, not the kindness where you need to wait for somebody to ask you to do something, not the kindness where you let the person know, hey, look at what I'm giving you, look at what I'm doing for you, but rather the kindness where you, the giver, feels indebted to another person for providing the opportunity for him to actually help you out. So you have the opportunity to help someone. You have the opportunity in this way. You provide them with a dignity and a respect, not that they're beneath you and you're above them. This kindness is in your word, in your action, in your deed, in your energy, your thought, frequency, and vibration. And the reason we start with this is because when you have an open heart and an open spirit, it is much easier to create than when we are mired down with doubt and fear and resentment and angst about the way the world is. So, the very first thing that we do is we shift our energy by doing something that doesn't cost us a thing except what we are attached to with our egos, something that we think brings us pride or some sort of strength and power over another. So once you have grasped and learned the truth of understanding this higher law, understanding, you see that there really is no hierarchy of givers and getters in the world. We all give and we all get. It's a matter of energy and focus. We always need somebody. If you sell products, you need people to buy them. If you are a healthcare worker, you always are dependent or interdependent on other human beings. So I guess if you went and lived in the woods all by yourself, you wouldn't be, but you would have to know how to do everything. So there's that. But we all give and we all get. All right. So not higher, not lower per se. That appears only on the surface of things, but really in the understanding view that comes from within. Nobody gives without getting. No one gets without giving. So to give, we have to cultivate from the field of energy of the God force or source. And in doing so, we fill ourselves up. We tap into this unlimited source and we're able to give. Now, think on this for just a moment. How much are you willing to receive? How much are you willing to take in? Now, this is the measure of what you can and will to receive. Okay, so do you see this? You see, we have to be willing to grow out our energy from within. We have to grow it. We have to accept or receive. You see, this is why the foundation is so important. Because most people that I talk to when we are doing a counseling or a coaching session, I will ask them, are you open to receive it? And there's always a silent gap for a second. And they'll say, I think so. But you have to know so. The very basics of the law are the ability of giving and receiving. Think about it. If the universe, God, source, is the giver, if everything is already there for you, you have to be able to receive it. And it's only our mind and our beliefs in the circumstances around us that we're trapped, that we feel we're really trapped in. You see, there's nothing outside of us that really stands in our way. We don't really have an obstacle. The obstacle is actually our own mind, our own thinking, and our beliefs, because we're looking at the world from an outside view. When we begin to look within and tap into the source, the God force, the source of all, whatever you would like to call it, we expand our ability to receive more. Now, when I talk about God and source, I'm not talking about an anthropomorphical person in the sky with a long beard and white hair. I'm talking about a source that is even pre-gender. It is the all. And what we are being called to do is cultivate a relationship with that source and then generate the energy that by thoughts and vibrations, energy, frequency, and vibration, and then more comes. You see, the issue is typically our energy is, and it needs to expand, not contract. Our thoughts need to get bigger, not get smaller. A lot of times we set an intention and then we fall back into the old beliefs, but I'm not going to do that right now. We're not going to get stuck in the beliefs of what we can and can't have and the beliefs that there is a blockage or anything like that. Not right now. Just let's keep going here. Because when you're filled with this energy, you're literally compelled to give more of yourself in energy and deed. So random acts of kindness, as they're called, is like opening the door for another person, an older person who has their hands full, or opening their car door when they're trying to get their groceries in. And I know people say, oh, well, this world, people are afraid of us. When you're walking into a grocery store, or any kind of a store, holding the door for someone or getting it for them, it doesn't cost you anything. Nobody's going to pull out a gun and shoot you. You can pick up the trash on the street that you see. There's something you can do, and then you have to worry about somebody shooting you if you think somebody's going to do that. And a sweet, gentle smile to somebody or a nice word to someone, giving someone money without expecting anything back, or providing food and nourishment for people or for animals, or taking care of the earth by composting, recycling, even feeding your own body. with healthier foods, nourishing your mind, your emotions, your attitude with healthy, where you're filled with love and you want to give more love. This is showing others how you live a healthier life. And that helps them see, well, if they can do it, then I can do it. Maybe that works for them, maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, what are we doing? In our giving of who we are in our spirit, we bless others. And this is because we are open to receive. And for those of you who are not Christian, I'm sorry about this if you have an issue with this story, but there's a great story in the Bible it really was profound. When I read it, I was taken aback by the specific words that Christ was speaking. And the story goes where Jesus is coming into town and he's got a crowd of people around him. So the crowd, let's say, represents thoughts. And there's a blind man sitting on the side of the road, and he came here specifically for Jesus. And he thought to himself, how am I going to get to Jesus? Look at all of these people that are standing around, crowding around. He's never going to see me. And isn't that exactly what we do? It's like, how are we ever going to get through this? How are we going to get to what we want? So he can't see Jesus, and he's blind on top of it. And he can hear what's going on. So there's a vibration, because sound is a vibration. And he decides, I'm going to use my voice. And your voice is a vibration. And he calls out to Jesus and he says, please help me. And Jesus hears him. Jesus stops. He moves out of the crowd, moves the people behind him, right? And that can represent our noisy thoughts, our energies, intentions, and the things that we're consumed with. And Jesus pushes that aside, and he goes to the man and he stands in front of him and he says to the man, what can I do for you? So the force, the life force, the God force, the source of all, is asking, what can I do for you? And you've heard that many times in your life, where all the God force is waiting for, the source of all, is for you to show up and ask for what you want, to really be ready for. Now listen to this before I say it. Jesus says, what can I do for you? And the man was absolutely clear in his intention and what he wanted. And he responded, I want to see. Help me to see. And Jesus said to him, receive your sight. Jesus told him to receive it. So he was telling the man, if you can receive it, own it, it's yours. And in that moment, the man received his sight and he could see. He got up, picked up his blanket, and then he went on to the next town to tell others what he had learned. There's the gratitude. There's the generosity. There's how we give back. So do you see how that story works? And the same thing is applicable in your life, in all of our lives. Many people approach getting what they want, manifestation, all about these cravings and desires. But it begins with something higher. And that's why when I do these lessons and I teach, I go more slowly. Because with this, the idea of only getting, what is that? Okay, where's the receiving? Where's the openness to that? It feels very greedy. And many times it's not greedy, it's just flat out need. But instead of being open to receiving it, we're too busy clamping the energy down and making it smaller, and it can't get in. Just like the crowd of thoughts around the God force, which was represented in that story by the people around Jesus. And the old man that was blind knew that there was a crowd of people, but he was willing to use his voice and ask. Okay, so I understand that everybody wants something, and I've been in that situation many times, and I'm sure I'm going to be in that situation more. And what we know is how it works and how it doesn't work. And I've witnessed that the moment that we begin to learn and have the understanding and soften our hearts, everything turns around and it changes. And so when I'm able to teach this to my clients, they turn it around and they begin to understand. And many times they'll say, I just softened, I dropped it. I came from a place of forgiveness and love. And you can't even put words on that. But that's what they call it. It's a gentleness, it's an open heartedness. Okay, so let's dive right into this lesson. We're going to talk about your thoughts and your thinking, and it is related to the three things that I had you write down. So if you haven't written them down, please do so now. Okay, all right. So if you've done that, you should have a piece of paper in front of you and either a pen or a pencil. Now, as an aside, a pencil is better because when we write down what we want using pencil, the energy of the lead and the carbon is actually dancing on the page. Now, obviously, you can't see this with your eyes, but you can underneath a microscope. So those elements interact with your environment. So I like to use a pencil. Now, take a deep breath and center yourself and center your thoughts just for a moment. And I want you to think about the paper that you have written these things on. And as you're thinking about the paper, observe the shape, the color of the ink or the pencil that you used, the way in which you write. And now I want you to think about that which thinks about the paper. Take a moment here and consider what it is that is thinking about the paper. Because this thing which thinks and is thinking about the paper and what you've written down in front of you and about what you are now thinking, this is going to be the subject matter of today's lesson. Understanding self, what we are, what we're doing, so that we can raise our consciousness or our awareness to understand why we create what we create, why we keep repeating the same habits and patterns, why we have all the good things in our lives. Because through awareness, this is what we find out. And through awareness, you can change it. And that's your superpower. I had the profound realization that what we think helps us create our reality, that thoughts alone don't create reality. And if I'm the one doing the thinking, then I have control over what I think by becoming aware of what I'm thinking. And it seemed like this weird circular, and boy, it was hard for me to grasp. But I kept thinking about it. And then what followed was, okay, wait, how am I doing this? The mind, what is this thing? What is this thing that thinks and feels and wills? Or is it the thoughts and feelings and acts of the will that are conscious? Things that we are mentally aware of. And as you observe and you listen to this, what can you tell me or tell yourself right now about this thing that thinks, that you are realizing you're thinking about a paper? What is this thing that is listening? What is this thing that feels and wills? What can we find out about it? Where is it? Is it in your brain? And you may think so. Or do you believe that your brain is what causes this? Because what we really find is the brain is something that occupies space. And you think, okay, well, then what is making up the material world? And the more carefully you consider the question and who and what is actually doing the thinking, you'll see we don't know. And we can't learn anything about the thing which thinks and feels and wills that we call consciousness, because being conscious is also being tapped into the invisible, wealthy world or non-ending energy. That's where we become aware that we're conscious. It's beyond human knowledge. It's a little bit complicated. And we're going to talk about what the brain does, how the brain takes in information and then downloads it and makes it look like an ordered reality. But that ordered reality is based on your past experience. And this is not something we're going to talk about today, but you're going to start to get the little inklings of, wait a second, if what I'm thinking is something that I've already experienced and I've known, and my brain is just making sense of it, that's why I keep seeing the same reality. So I can also see that if I change that, then reality will change. So you will no longer be just consumed with your thoughts, feelings, and acts of will. You're going to be more consumed with, wow, who you are. Okay, so modern day psychology is the study of that experience. Okay, it's the facts we believe about the mind or the self or the soul. And in these lessons, in this course, we're going to divide it into psychology, metaphysics, and spirituality, and some philosophy. But we will not be concerned with what is the mind. Instead, we will learn to use it. We will discuss how to do things with the mind, with the will, with our feelings. And it's not just based in woo woo, it's going to be based in science. But you also have to understand we don't really know what consciousness is. So we're going to figure out, we're going to learn what works for us. And you'll learn how to generate thoughts, feelings, a state of mind, or a state of being. And then you're going to hold that state until it solidifies in reality. But there are layers to who you are. Ancestrally, there's this transgenerational energy that you've taken on from your ancestors and from your family, whoever raised you, who was your primary caretaker. All of these things have had an impact on your life. And being a master of manifestation is being a master of your mind. And this means consciously. And the key word here is conscious. It's deliberate. And it's a voluntary building up of and a cultivating and developing and a using of your mind. Now, most likely your mind has been unconsciously built up. It's been unconsciously cultivated and developed without any voluntary effort. So instead, you had people impress upon you, just as I did, just as everybody does, there are forces and powers that are outside of us, impressions from our parents, from the outside world, from society, from our friends, from our siblings. And it's usually what's happening is it's running on autopilot. It has no conscious direction. You aren't thoughtfully using your mind to direct it, and you're not being willful. And that doesn't, willful doesn't mean you're shoving it and saying, I will do this and I demand it, because then your energy gets tight again. But with being absolutely resolute, yes, you will learn how to use your will in that way. This will be. And then you're going to learn how to let it go and give it up. Now that's where the real power is. And that's that's the challenge. It's so hard to let go. Anybody tried to let go of a love, then I don't have to tell you. So today, right now, your mind is operating from a creation of circumstance. Just like I said a minute ago, the circumstances with which you were born into or subjected to. And it runs wild like a monkey, and it's affected and driven by the outside forces. We wind up reacting to things that are so subtle we don't even pick up, and we're not conscious of it because we're typically not being aware of what is it that I'm thinking and feeling right now. So your mind lacks the guidance of you consciously being at the helm of your own ship. You aren't steering the ship because you haven't been shown how to use the compass. Okay. And the compass is going to give you some direction. The compass is going to represent knowledge. So to master your mind, you must gain knowledge. You have to know yourself, know what you want, why you want it. This is why I asked you those questions. And then you have to know that nothing can stand in your way from having it. Using the law, you map out the course you're going to take, and you determine through your focused will and you direct it and you steer your life to the place that you dream of being. This means you need to learn to keep silent. You need to keep these things private, secreted away deeply inside of you. It is your gold. It is your treasure. Do not talk about it to other people. You can deliberately and voluntarily choose the particular thoughts and feelings and energy and frequency and vibration. And those are the powerful forces that are available to you. They will also propel you forward. They propel us all forward. We have to use them. And then we change the inner picture. And then that is what is reflected into the outer world. You have the power to choose and select because choice is your superpower. So becoming aware is also a choice. To pay attention to what you're thinking, that's a choice. And in doing so, you begin to empower yourself. You're not being sold a bill of goods. You're not saying, a lot of people spend thousands of dollars on things to make them look rich. They pretend that they're rich, but they're not rich inside. They feel very empty inside. And so they use all these outer things, and you've seen them. And then there are wealthy people that buy those things because that's what they want. But first, what we have to do is, instead of going out and buying stuff that we really don't need, we need to invest in ourselves. And when we invest in ourselves, we will then generate and have enough, and then you can go buy whatever you want. You can do it either way you want. But in this lesson, in order to become a master of manifesting and to continue to do it throughout your life, this is the way that I teach it. All right, so let's take a look at what you wrote down. As a kid, growing up in school, college, life, how many of you were taught to master your inner thoughts and feelings? Probably none, probably few. And we never learned how to take possession of our mind. Nobody teaches you how to take possession of your mind. And how many of us lie awake in bed at night or have been kept awake at night and you're totally filled with regret or nostalgia or frustration or fear, anxiety or worrying? Why did I do that? What's going to happen? I'm trying really hard, but this just isn't working. How does he or she feel about me? What am I going to do? Okay. And tomorrow, that's what we're worried about. When you have the power in the moment to determine whether or not you're going to be kept awake. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Like, how do you do that? But it's not impossible. It's right at your fingertips. Remember who's doing the thinking. Right now, who's doing the listening. And for those of you who are willing to reach, or who are willing to try, who are willing to change, you're going to achieve what others will tell you is unachievable. And you'll do it with ease because you are learning and you are practicing and you have gained understanding. So think about this. When you're anxious, if you take 3 deep breaths and then you say to yourself, you look at this and you become conscious. What are you feeling? Anxious. Name it. It's anxious. And then take 3 more breaths. And as you exhale that last breath, you say the word peace to yourself. What you will find is that you have a sense of peace. Now, you might feel some residual anxiety. It might still be there, but you will begin to see, if you continue to breathe and you say the word peace, that you have control over your feelings and emotions, but you have to use your breath. Breathing is so important, and it's so connected, and so is drinking water. So you're going to have some things that you're going to have to employ and do in this lesson. You've written all of this down. Why you want something shows you a lot about what drives you. Look at what you've written down. Get to know yourself. These are your needs and your desires. And it's also saying a lot about your internal world and what it represents to you. And very often we don't know why we have these desires or wants or feelings, and we don't know where they came from. And this is something that you need to look deeply into. So we're going to dig deeply into that in our next lessons as well. But The first thing we're doing in this lesson is we are understanding. And in understanding, we're finding what's beneath the belief or idea behind the obstacle that we believe stands in our way. The why we want it is really important because, again, is it something that you really want? Or is it something that you believe will make other people think that you're that? Because the true richness in life is living who you truly are. So maybe you have this inkling in the back of your mind that there's an old familial tradition or an ancestral overlay or transgenerational curse, as some people, but there's no curses here. Maybe you feel that you've taken something on, or maybe you know exactly what it is that you believe stands in your way. You have a memory or a traumatic experience or something that was frightening that you haven't cleared or come to terms with. You might not even remember what it is. And so you'll also say, well, I don't know how to change that. I mean, it's so emotionally driven. So I want you to write that down. I want you to get more into what you think the obstacle is, because what you're going to understand is it's not thoughts alone that manifest. It may appear that way to people, but it's not the case. There's other elements that are coming into play. Otherwise, every negative and positive thought you had and would have would be throwing you all over the place willy-nilly. And the other elements that are keeping your current reality in place have to do with an abusive childhood, an alcoholic parent, a drug addicted parent, feeling that you were not fitting in school, having a bad breakup, being rejected, having parents that always thought, or having grandparents that always fought. The historical stories that we have are endless, but other people's stories don't matter. Yours does. So you need to look at that. You need to remember what your parents' historical stories were and how they affected you. So in that way, other people's stories will matter to you. But behind these experiences are stored in your memory. Okay. And they're stored very strongly, backed up by emotions that you identify with the thoughts. So the thoughts and the feelings are inseparable, and that creates the experience. And so many times you'll say, why do I pick the same people over and over again? Why does this always happen to me? That's why. And so I want to make it very clear that thoughts are very powerful, of course, and they do create. And they have to be backed by a very, very powerful emotion. And we're going to go into the science and the formula in the next chapter about thinking and how this works. But the universe, the law, it doesn't know the difference between a positive or a negative thought. It's completely irrelevant. So if you're saying to the universe, I was an abused child, I'm always, shit on, or whatever it is that you say, I mean, my parents always struggled, or, I've got alcoholism in my family. Yep. See, they're doing it again. The universe doesn't say, oh, wow, that's positive. Oh, that's negative. Nope. The universe says that's irrelevant. We don't understand positive or negative. We just give you what you're putting out there through your words, through your thoughts, through your vibration, through your action. What is your frequency? What is your state of mind? What is it that you think about when you get up in the morning? Is it, oh my God, I've got to go to work, another day? Or is it, thank you, all right, today's going to be a fantastic day? Start to think about what you think about. That creates a state of mind, a state of being. Are you cynical? So remember, the universe, the law of attraction, the law gives you what is in your mind. It gives you what you're thinking, feeling, saying, taking action on, not taking action on. And it gives you what is the strongest energy, vibration, and intention within you. Do you have beliefs that you live a certain way and it's always going to be that way? Then that's why it gives it to you. And that's what I want you to begin looking at. It means it feels you, it hears you, it senses the energy. It means that what you believe most powerfully and strongly is what you keep manifesting. And it means that those things that are buried so deeply within you that you don't even know you have, those beliefs are what we're going to work on, and we're going to understand and uncover them, because sometimes it's very important and other times it's not. Sometimes just beginning to pay attention helps you understand, oh, no, 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 I'm not doing that anymore. I'm done with that. I never noticed that I was doing that. Bam, you're done. And other times it takes longer. You can have more powerful drive and feeling and need and desire, and that will overcome those old beliefs. And sometimes we have things that we feel hold us back, like fear and doubt. And we have to uncover those beliefs. And sometimes we just need a glimpse, and sometimes we need to go deeply. But what we do not want to do is become attached to the drama or the trauma. Because when we actually face what it is and we see it, those thoughts and feelings diminish, because we're going to replace them with something much more empowering. And then you begin to manifest really quickly, and you start getting exactly what you want or better. So the smaller thoughts, yes, they become more powerful and greater when you give them immense focus, attention, and importance. So you must give the meaning that you want to give with your energy and your power. Identify them, be conscious of what it is that you want to be thinking. Those smaller thoughts become bigger. That's what makes your reality, because you act on them. You're thinking about them all the time. That's why I asked, what do you want? And do you think about what you want? And how is it that you think about it? Is it outside of you? Do you believe you can create it, that it exists within you? And why do you want it? Again, that's important. Is it because it's what somebody told you should be, somebody told you what you should have, or is it what you truly want? Does it come from your deep soul, your deep mind? So, what we want to do is we want to look at your beliefs, your doubts, your fears, everything, and work on those three things I had you write down. Work on breathing, work on thinking about what you're thinking about. And so the very first thing I want you to do in the morning when you wake up is take a deep breath and blow that breath out. And I want you to state, today's going to be a great day. That's the simplest thing you need to say. Today's going to be a great day. And if you have to say it 10 times before your feet hit the floor, or 20, then you do it. But today is going to be a great day. And every day thereafter is going to be a great day. And I want you to start to breathe as you start to feel yourself reacting. Pay attention. It's going to take practice. And as we do that, as you go throughout the day, I want you to breathe when you wake up. I want you to state how the day is going to be. I want you to work more on the three things, because we're going to get right down to it when we get into lesson 3. We're going to talk about things, about how, where we put our attention, where our power lies, how we think it's outside of us, and how we bring it inside of us. So we will start to really move the energy. But if you have this understanding, you need to do more than just the breathing, stating what your day is going to be like. You need to pay attention to what you're thinking and feeling. Use your breath to change it by using a simple word like peace. And then I want you to drink water every day. So, not just a glass of water. Everybody is different. I can't really tell you. I'm not a doctor, but you can drink, they say, 8 ounces, or you can do 1.5 liters, or you can do 2 of those. So I do about 2 of those. And also, you want to move every day. I don't care if you only walk 5 minutes up the block. If you say, okay, well, I can't walk because I'm disabled, that's fine. I want you to move your body anyway. Okay. I want you to use your mind to move your body. I want you to be deliberate about it, because as we get into these lessons, breath, water, because of your electromagnetic body, your thoughts, the water intake, your breathing, and the feeling all work together. It becomes very, very powerful. Okay. Those are the things that you have to do. So this week, I want you to work on those 3 things. I don't care if it's only 5 minutes of exercise. I do care that it's got to be more than 1 glass of water or 4 glasses of water. You've got to try. You've got to make a focused, intended commitment to do this, because if you are focused and intended and you say, okay, I'm going to do this, then follow through every day. Okay, those are going to be, because the next lesson, we're going to talk about decluttering. And that's going to have to do with decluttering your home, decluttering your mind. You're going to see how everything works together, how the outside reflects the inside. Okay, so that's your job. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you liked this lesson, and I will see you in our next session.